I'm gonna post some videos of people who we should be listening to. Cause again, listen, y'all know I'm a little slow. I'm not here to be y'all's leader. I am a talking head that is wants to present a bridge that people can walk on, ladies and gentlemen. And it's hard too, right? Like we all see what's going on in this world right now. Here in beautiful North Idaho, not a whole lot's going on. We're dealing with going into phase 3 of the governor's plan to reopen Idaho. Things seem to be going smooth. What up, Dre? The COVID rate seems to be stabilized here in Idaho. Things are bright and cheery. It's very easy to ignore what's going on in the rest of the world, or to point fingers and to be critical of what's going on in the rest of the world. But I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, it's not beneficial at all. Not at all, ladies and gentlemen, not at all. It's not beneficial. It's not helpful to look at what's going on in the rest of the world, North Idaho. I'm talking specifically to North Idaho. It's not beneficial to point fingers and say, this is wrong, this is right. And here's why. Because I get it from both sides. Listen, if a member of my family was murdered by the police in the way that George Floyd was murdered, there's no stopping me. Period. When my father died, I have never felt that much pain and anger and frustration in my entire life. So if my family member was murdered, taken from us before their time, I would be completely irrational and hostile. And it would take the words of leader. Actually, that situation happened when my father died. For a split second, in my heart, because of stories that I was hearing, I thought that my father had been killed. And it wasn't until my older brother, Ben, who is a leader in my life, a leader in our family, stepped in and said, Tyler, let's walk through this logically. It wasn't until that leader spoke to me that I calmed down. And why do you bring this up, Tyler? Because right now, I completely understand why people are upset. Not upset. Again, let's take it out of the realm of upset. Let's look at all the riots that have happened in the history of the United States. You have people who have been taking advantage of. We can go to the coal miners in Idaho. We can go to who is that? Carnegie's still in Pittsburgh. We could go to Watts. We could go to Birmingham. You have people who have been stripped of opportunities, who then have been taken advantage of, who are then so frustrated because then they've been abused. They're so frustrated that they lash out on the heels of being controlled, on the heels of being abused. They lash out. Family, let me tell y'all something. What up, Austin? Let me tell y'all something. I'm glad you on here. If anything was to ever happen to a family member of mine in the way that it happened to George Floyd, there is no stopping me, man. Man, I'm telling you, let something happen to Quaylen. There is no stopping, fam. And so I understand the anger and the frustration, and it's compounded because people have been again taken advantage of. People are frustrated, people are hurting, and they have been hurting since the creation of this country. You are talking about generational hurt, ladies and gentlemen. You are talking about generations of abuse. You are talking about generations of, I'm going to try to get to this point, I'm going to try to do the right things, I'm going to pay my taxes, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to go through school, a school system that might not necessarily be built for me. And I'm not even talking about black versus white. This is people in general. I'm going to go through a system that wasn't built for me. I'm still, even though it's not built for me, I'm still going to push through and do what I'm supposed to do. And in the midst of all that, I'm still being abused, and then you kill one of mine? Fam. I understand the hurt and the anger and the frustration. Nothing has even happened to my family. When I think of something happening, rage comes up inside of me. Not like, let's riot and let's da-da-da-da. Not that rage. Because I believe a lot of what's happening with looting and rioting is emotional reaction, yes, but it is being fueled by media. Again, I understand the emotion. I had emotion when my father died. And when I thought my father was killed, I lost all rationality. And it wasn't until my brother Ben, what up, Britton? It wasn't until I totally agree with you, Rob. Rob said there's a difference between vengeance and justice, 100%. It wasn't until my brother Ben, who is a leader in my life, said, Tyler, you are thinking irrationally. What you are thinking right now and what that will lead you to do does not benefit anything. There was a leader in my life that stood up and said, bro, regardless of what actually happened, what you are thinking is not a rational choice that you should make long term. And so my frustration, I think, in this world right now isn't towards the people, definitely isn't towards the people who are protesting. And it's not towards the people who are rioting, because I understand even just thinking about my family being put in that position, it makes me just the thought of it, not anybody actually being hurt, the thought of it makes me almost go crazy. It makes me get on a flight just to make sure everybody's good. It makes me want to call my nephew right now and say, hey bro, stay away from downtown Louisville. Stay away from those riots. Because if something happens, regardless to whether he was, and this is how irrational my mind is, not everybody else. I can't speak for everybody else. Rob said there's a difference between vengeance and justice. Let me tell you something. Regardless to why, if my nephew gets killed, murdered, fam, like, there is no logic at that point. So I understand the emotion that people are going through. I can truly see that. I can truly trace what has happened in Black and brown communities and what has happened in poor communities across this country since the foundation of this country. And I can trace why people explode. We can trace why people get upset. We can actually trace why people riot. We can understand the abuse. It's like understanding why a wife or a child who is constantly abused, shout out to my wife in the background making coffee, who is constantly abused, not my wife. We can understand why a wife who would be constantly abused would kill her abuser. We can understand why the victims of sex trafficking and of prostitution would kill their abuser. It's understandable. The human mind can only take so much. You look at let's go savage on them. You look at an animal. A dog can only get kicked for so long before you lash back. And people say, well, that's not a good analogy, Tyler. You're trying to say people are dogs. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is let's logically look at the situation and see that poor people, regardless of your race, black and brown people, women, and many others have been abused in this country and in the world for a very long time. And now we constantly see it on the interweb, ladies and gentlemen. So what I will say, and again, this is going to be a short one. I just wanted to come on here and I just wanted to speak to the people real quick. What I will say is leaders need to stand up in this moment and say, fam, I feel your pain. I understand your pain. I get it. What you are doing is irrational and it's not going to help you get over that pain. And it's not going to help you get out of that abusive relationship. What we are doing to the world is not going to help us get out of the abusive relationship. We're not showing them anything by rioting. What's actually happening is the people who have abused us are now adding another stream of revenue because they're going to be the ones who will clean that up. They're going to be the ones who will buy those buildings at a cheaper price because they're not worth anything anymore. They're the ones who are, again, going to get off. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they don't care. What makes us think that these people who have abused all of these groups over the last, 240 something years, what makes us think now they care? Do you know what they care about? The almighty dollar. That is what this country was founded on. Not God. If it was founded on God, there probably wouldn't have been slavery. It wasn't founded on brotherhood and freedom of... Okay, no. This country was founded on money. And cool, listen, at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with that, honestly. I'm not of this land. My home is in heaven, fam. At the end of the day, I just live here. Period. So, because this country was founded on the almighty dollar, the people need to understand that and realize that what changes the minds of the people who are movers and shakers is the almighty dollar. And right now, they are the ones in control because everything we are doing is making them money. Why would they change? Why would they? It's like I heard somebody say that it's only 7 billion to end homelessness in America, or 7 billion to end world hunger. Why would you change that if you're making money off of world hunger? Why would they change if they're making money off of your anger and off of your fear? Why would they change? We are showing them, based on our emotion and based on our leaders not giving us a rational path out of the emotional choice, we are showing them that they can keep doing whatever they want to do. Fam. So I'm not your leader. I'm not your preacher. I'm not a pastor. I'm not none of that stuff. That's not me. I'm a large black man in North Idaho who talks in the camera and talks on a microphone. with that, I will say, leaders lead. For all you leaders out there, lead your people. In North Idaho, if you listen to me, what I'm going to say is, like I said yesterday, if you don't want this to happen in North Idaho, or if you're in a small town, wherever you are, if you don't want this to happen in your town, I can't speak to what's happening in Louisville and in California and in Minneapolis right now. I'm not there. I'm not a leader in that area. But if you see me as somebody who you have looked up into your life, let me tell you, rioting is making them money. Protesting is your right as an American citizen. I have my own opinions on whether it actually changes anything or not. What I know changes things is the almighty dollar. Miss Kathy Nichols just hopped on. Miss Kathy, please let them know why slavery existed in this country, even amongst Christians. Because of the almighty dollar. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. The almighty dollar rules this country. So if we want to see change, if you want to support change in poor communities, in Black and brown communities, empower those communities by supporting them financially and not just giving dollars away. I'm talking about supporting the ideas of young people. And sometimes that support means teaching them how to own businesses, teaching them about tax law, teaching them about different certificates and different education they can get to become a better business leader, teaching them about leadership. I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. Those young kids who are out here who have an idea for something, support them, both monetarily and economically. Miss Kathy said slavery was an economic institution. A true Louisville historian, ladies and gentlemen, the executive director of Farmington in Louisville, Kentucky. Slavery was an economic institution. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm telling you all. From a large Black man in North Idaho, I understand the feeling of loss. I understand the feeling of frustration. I understand the feeling of anger. I understand the emotions of hurt and everything that has brought us to a state of rioting. I understand it. Again, just thinking about something happening to my family. Hey, Kelly, just thinking about something happening to my family makes me want to explode inside. But as somebody who is looking back and thinking logically, because other people have thought logically for me when I have been irrational in my life, I have to sit back and say to my people, regardless of whether it's Black people, Christians, Louisvillians, North Idahoans, whoever, what we are doing right now to this country isn't going to change anything. They do not care, ladies and gentlemen. They do not care. If you want to change something, care about those around you. Period. Period.